Hi. Okay, I'm back again. This time science. So if you have your science book, we're on page 164. And this one is how are rain and snow measured? So on page 164, we have our science vocabulary. We have the word drought, evaporation, precipitation, radar, and rain gauge. Okay? So let's be very aware when we see those words. Most likely they'll be in like green color. And you probably will find some reference to those words on your comprehension paper that goes with this. So keep your eyes open for that, okay? How are snow and rain and snow measured? Have you ever been caught in a heavy rainstorm? Or you might remember a time that it did not rain for a long time. The rain and snow that fall affect people in big ways. Scientists can measure rain and snow. They use the measurements to help predict weather. Boys and girls, I heard we're going to have snow again. For me, it will be tomorrow, but for you, it'll be probably today. Oh my gosh, I'm so sick of the snow. All right, at the top of 165, water in the air. You learned that water is in the air. Where does the water in the air come from? After a rainstorm, there are puddles on the ground. Then these puddles dry up. Where did the water go? The liquid water in the puddle became water vapor. Evaporation is when liquid water turns into water vapor. The water vapor becomes part of the air. This is where humidity comes from. Condensation happens when water vapor cools and changes back to liquid water. You may have seen this as dew on the grass. Clouds form in the same way, but up in the air. The vapor changes into tiny liquid or frozen droplets you see as clouds. After a while, the droplets combine and get bigger. When the droplets become too heavy, they fall as precipitation. Precipitation is water that falls to the ground as rain, snow, or sleet. Okay, page 166. Types of precipitation. Suppose you see dark clouds on the horizon. What kind of precipitation will the clouds bring? Precipitation falls in many different forms. Rain is precipitation that falls as a liquid. Water droplets and ice crystals form in clouds high in the atmosphere where the air is cool. Ice is a solid form of water. When the droplets get too heavy, they cannot float in the air anymore, so they fall. If the air near the ground is warm, these droplets fall as rain. When the air near the ground is cold, precipitation can fall as snow or other forms. If the air is colder than 0 degrees Celsius or colder than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the ice crystals from the clouds stay frozen and fall as snow. But sometimes snow will start to melt on the way down. Then, if the air near the ground is colder than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the drops can freeze again into solid pieces called sleet. Sleet is frozen raindrops or little ice pellets. Page 167, measuring precipitation. Sometimes the amount of rainfall is heavy. Other times the rain is a light sprinkle. It might rain for a long time or only for a few minutes. You can use a rain gauge to measure how much rain fell. A rain gauge is a tool that measures rainfall. It has a container that collects rain. The tool shows how much rain has fallen during a period of time. Most rain gauges measure water in centimeters, millimeters, or inches. Of course, we know those from math, and we know that the largest of those is the inches, okay? Because an inch is, remember I told you that I always think of this little part of my finger from here to here as about an inch if I had to just kind of guess, okay? A centimeter is considerably less than that, and a millimeter is even smaller than that, okay? Just different ways to measure. If you have to measure something really quite tiny, then you would want to measure in millimeters or even smaller than that, okay? Snow can be measured with a ruler, The ruler shows the depth of the snow in inches or centimeters. Radar can also be used to find out about precipitation. Radar is a tool that is used to find faraway objects in the air. Radar can also find the distance and speed of objects. Some weather stations use radar to track precipitation. Radar shows the kind of precipitation and how hard it is falling. Do any of you have a rain gauge in your gardens? I know my dad loves to keep track of how much rain has fallen. And so he has a little rain gauge, and it's really quite easy. I mean, it's almost, you could have a rain gauge by putting a paper cup or a plastic cup in your garden. All it does is collect the water. It's just, it doesn't let it seep into the ground. It keeps it in one space. And then you can use a ruler to measure it. So you can make your own rain gauge very easily. The one on page 167 is exactly that, except it has the markings on it. So you don't have to get a ruler. It's already on there. But it's very easy. Precipitation patterns. I'm on the top of 168. Some areas have rainy summers. Other areas are dry. And boys and girls, even in the United States, it's like that. The United States might all be enjoying summer, but places like California have terrible droughts and they don't get enough rain. And then there could be other places. Sometimes Michigan gets a lot of rain. Sometimes we don't. So we're kind of half and half. Other places can get a lot of rain. And then, of course, other places get different kinds of weather, like perhaps a tornado or a hurricane. So the types of precipitation can be quite different, despite the fact that we're all enjoying, let's say, warm temperatures in the summer. Places have different precipitation patterns. Winters bring lots of snow to some places. Other places have warmer and rainier winters, like perhaps Florida. Some places have very rainy summers. In parts of Florida, it can rain for a short time almost every summer day. Some places receive very little rain. The Atacama Desert in Chile is the driest place on Earth. At the desert's center, there may not have been any rainfall for hundreds of years. Other places are very wet, like Hawaii. One mountain there gets more than 1,143 centimeters, or 450 inches of rain each year. Sometimes an area gets a different amount of rain than it is used to getting. Drought happens when not enough rain falls for a long period of time. Drought can happen in wet or dry regions. And boys and girls, it's pretty common for Michigan to have a drought. That's the situation where, like right now, you look out the window and the grass is so nice and green because, you know, it's just coming back to life after winter. And then we get into, let's say, June and even July, and then towards the end of July and moving into August, it's almost like the grass is like, okay, look, it's really hot out here. And maybe there hasn't been a lot of rain. That's when you start to see the drought kicking in, where your grass may be turning brown, or your flowers may need a ton of extra water or else they're going to die because it's just not coming enough from rain. So Michigan is pretty frequently can have small droughts. Now, places like California, some of those other bordering states that are way over on the west side of the United States, they can have sustained droughts. And the word sustained means it goes on and on and on, to the point where then they will sometimes have the wildfires that we will hear about. So it can be quite dangerous if you don't get enough rain, because it dries everything out and then the wildfires are so much more prevalent. So too much rain is a problem. Not enough rain is a problem. And really, you kind of need that balance for all of God's creation to kind of live in the harmony that God intended for it to live in. But these droughts and things like that, they don't happen by accident. Somehow it's all part of God's plan. And so it's a matter of figuring out, okay, well, what is the plan? What is the story here? Are we doing something to our earth to cause these droughts or to cause these storms? Or, we have to kind of look at our behavior, but then we also have to figure out, so if this isn't happening on accident, if God has a plan, what is he trying to teach us? So it's always just a matter of seeing God's involvement in everything we do, and this is a perfect example. Okay, so work on your questions for lesson 4, and of course you can use your book. Maybe you even decided as I was reading that you were going to pause it when you heard one of the answers. It's a great idea. So go ahead and work on that and then post it on your website when you're done. Okay, talk to you later.